Okay, so here we are in our 35 QBA TIFFIN, and most people would buy this rig because it's a bunkhouse, and most people were going to buy this bunkhouse so they can have kids come along and have the extra bunk spaces. But for us, since I'll be working full-time from the rig, it made us a lot more sense for us to buy this rig, but we liked it because it had a dedicated workspace that we could convert this bunkhouse into an office, and that way at the end of the day I can even close it off and it's just a separate part of our living house and not part of the main quarters. So what we're planning on doing is taking out this piece of the bunkhouse and building a better, stronger shelf on the bottom to support my chair better than a bed. And then we're going to put in a built-in desk here, and that will allow me to have a really good workspace to go from there. Okay, so the first step we're going to do is we're going to first remove the actual part of the bed where people put their mattress on top of, this top piece here. And then the second piece we're going to do is we're going to remove this piece here. Fortunately, the height of this bunk is actually perfect for setting up the bunkhouse because the existing supports will be the right height to put my new desktop on. And once the chair is on this lower step. So we're pretty excited. Hopefully it goes really well. So we've got all the screws pulled out of the top part of the bunk, and that lifts up. It's not going to come out quite as easy as we might have hoped because of these existing shelves and the wall here, you can't just slide it out. So we'll have to, I was hoping to just be able to pull that right out, but now that I've got my assistant here, Julie Stead, and we're gonna we're gonna pull out this piece next, and then once this piece is out, we'll have a nice big area that we can slide these pieces out. And then, of course, we'll have to disconnect some of that wiring before we go too far with it, because that's going to be holding it in place. But things are moving on nice and smooth. So far, so good. It's a bloody rip-off a screwdriver.
Jesus. Perlamite.
Yeah, so definitely ideal to be having more than one hand to be doing this project, because, you know, trying to get these big pieces out without having any kind of scratching on the wall, it's definitely a lot easier with two. Good now. All right, so we got this. Just got to pull this support piece out, and then we'll be ready to. I got this one.
It's going to be in the way, I think.
It's stubborn, isn't it?
The helmet might have to come off.
Alright, okay, let's set it on that wall.
Oh, jeez, I know how to put screws in, don't they?
They're torqued in hard. They really put them in.
Which is good.
Yeah, it is.
That's what you want.
Yep, gotta move this light because everything's getting in the way, so we might as well give ourselves as much room as we can. Alright, so that was what we needed to do to get this out. We needed to make sure we pulled out the window covering treatment, the top piece here for the lower bunk. Make sure you remove the light from the wall because you need every inch of that space. And then just lift it up, drop that side down, and it'll come out of here without removing any of these shelves. So not too bad. So now we're just going to disconnect the wires because this model had the upgraded monitors for the bunks, and so once we remove that, then we'll be square. What we'll do next, we'll disconnect these. These are obviously pretty straightforward, there's the red and the yellows, and all the other wiring actually is really nicely coordinated too. It's got yellows paths, but I'm going to take some photos of this so that we make sure we document how we get back together, because we're going to put it back together someday in case the person that would buy it from us would rather have the bunk than the office. So, but before we actually unconnect those wires, we're going to want to make sure there's no juice flowing to them. So we'll come to the breaker panel, and on this model it's over here right next to the bunk. Fortunately, it's right close, and we'll just figure out which one is the fuse for it. We'll pull the fuse so it can't be getting, or throw the breaker, whichever one's going to be the best tool for that, but take the power away from it so we don't damage the equipment or ourselves. Right, so what I'm doing now is I'm putting tape on these marks. We just put the light back on the wall, and I'll put masking tape on these wires so that I can write on one that'll say matches with yellow only. This matches with yellow and red. This matches, so that when we put them back together, we remember which ones went in the same wire nuts. Yeah, so we did. These are the wires. Now they're all labeled, and then I put new wire nuts. That's the part you might want, some additional wire nuts to cap them off properly. And then we put some electrical tape just to make sure it's nice and secure. And then that way we can turn the power back on and we'll be safe to go. And so now that we've taken everything else out, we want to pull off this bottom piece as well, because we want to see just how well supported it is before I start changing what it is. Because right now, you're just going to have someone sleeping on it, a mattress, but we're going to have a chair that's going to have a much more focused weight. So we'd want to look underneath it and make sure it's supported really well. So a nice little trick that you might use to help you lift things that are tight, put the screw in just a little bit, and that way you can use the screw as a handle to lift up. Looks like underneath here, it's pretty open. I think it'd be nice to add an additional support right here, so that instead of just across that way, we're going to have additional support here. Probably put an additional support here as well. And what we'll do is, instead of this little 1/2-inch plywood and decorative, we'll probably store this as well and put a much thicker plywood as well, and that'll make it much stronger. We're doing now, just measuring up what size wood we're going to need, so then we'll go to the store and get the wood cut at the size we want, because obviously you're not in RV, you don't have us bringing all my power tools. So, but fortunately Home Depot usually do the cuts for you if you for just a minimal fee. I'd say we don't want to go all the way. We'll cut it maybe at like 28.5. Inconsistent. We'll need to shim it. Yeah, 3/4 of an inch thick. Who says cars like this aren't practical? Go to the Home Depot, grab all our stuff. I didn't even need to put the top down. I just put the top down for fun. So what we did next is we put these extra supports in. We wanted to add some extra support because we're going to be carrying a lot more weight with me sitting in the chair. So put this one in and this one in, and we're using cedar because it's lighter weight, which, you know, might as well keep your weight light in the rig, but it's nice, plenty strong. And to make it really strong attached to it, we screwed in from the inside of the existing drawers to make it nice and strong. Put little shims underneath it to make it perfectly level and flat with the existing supports. And we did that for this one and for this one. Then we're just going to lay in one nice big piece of wood later, and it'll be plenty strong and really durable. And then we'll do some other finishing touches to make it look nice. Okay, so we showed you the supports that we already built in. So we have all the wood that we cut at Home Depot. Was really cool because we were able to get all the pieces for all the things that I'm wanting to do out of one sheet of plywood. I just did a 3/4 inch sheet of plywood. A nice quality stuff, so it's going to be really durable. And that was only like 35 bucks. And so then we had them all cut, all the pieces out of it, pieces for the floor, the pieces for my desktop, and some pieces left over to build a small box. I also had some Westwood cedar that I also had for the box. I did all those cuts there as well. So if you plan ahead, you can have everything done. You don't even need to have a saw at home or in your rig. The desktop, I'm going to be doing a lot more sanding on that because I want to make sure I have rounded corners on it instead of straight corners. And on the bigger pieces too, because when I lay them in place, I don't want to have any sharp edges that might potentially scratch the existing wall surface. So time to start sanding. Alright, so like I was saying, we wanted to round off these corners because especially when I started putting it in place, I was noticing when I walked down the hallway, there was a real sharp corner sticking out, and I just know that my arm at some point was going to be swinging into that sharp corner. So I made sure to make nice big rounded corners on that. Started off with some heavy grain sandpaper around 60, and then I'm all now down to 120, making a little bit finer coat. and then it'll be time to stain it and make it look to match the existing trim. Last comment on the sanding. It tends to work even better if you're going with the grain, so you can see the grain in the wood is going this way. So on the sides that the grain is that, I'll be all along the side going this way, but on the sides where the grain is that way, I'll be usually going the same direction because it helps prevent it from splintering a little better. Okay, so I finished sanding it to at least to my level of satisfaction. So now what I'm going to do is pick up the stain to do this, and I was really excited because our TIFFIN has English chestnut cabinetry, and it's just so easy to be able to go to the store and say, yes, I'd like English chestnut stain. So hopefully it matches really well. I believe it will. Staining away. Stains a lot different from paint, in my opinion. Got to really work it to avoid smudges and inconsistencies. I finished the top, but I want to make sure I get the top and the bottom, of course. So because I want it to look really consistent, really as nice as possible. So we finished staining the desktop for a new office space in the bunkhouse. I went in and measured a couple spots to drill holes so that it'll be easy to mount that when I get it in there. Kind of a fun little thing extra. When I was staining it, this little heart showed up, which inspired me to, when I was putting the hole for the cords to go through, I decided to do a little heart shape there too, just for fun. So, it's RVLove after all. Here we go, pulling big stuff out of the back of the Mini again. It's like a clown car. You never know what you're going to be able to get out of that thing. We're just dropping off some wood over at our friend Rob's house. He does flooring, and so we thought it'd be nice to see if he could take care of adding the floor tiles on here since he's a professional. Okay, back in the rig, and I'm going to go ahead and just set this in place, and then I'll screw it into place. I also have one little extra support piece that I did for this section here because there's no existing support there, so I'll put that into place just to give it a little extra support on this side. So we have our piece back from our friend Rob, who laid the laminate onto the wood for us. All we gotta do now is set it into place and we'll be all done. All set. So here I am in my new office. I've got the floor in, got the desk in, and I just wanted to point out a couple of things that my wife did that really made this take it up to that final notch. The window, you'll see that there used to be a window treatment here like above, and we had to remove that to be able to make better room for the chair. But that of course leaves the window completely open, and it's eye level so people can see right in, and it's just allowing a lot of extra solar heat gain because we don't have a window covering. So my wife built this fantastic little cover for it. Just took a piece of foam cardboard or a cardboard and then just spray glued the fabric onto it, put some Velcro strips here and here so that when it's in place it ties together. Cover it with a nice fabric that coordinates with the wall. So let me put that in place. So you can see that just closes it off really nice. Looks great, super simple, super light, and it's a great solution. For me at least, I like to, when I'm finished with the work for the day, I like to be able to close off the space and let it be separate. And so this was a simple solution. We just put a little, this is a rod out of a shower that plays in place. Bought some nice curtains, and my wife cut them down and hemmed them to be just the right length. And now, when the day's over, office is closed.